Well, why don't you just start off with the word diatribe? Because not a lot of people, not that's I feel not one that I hear all that often in a very, yeah, I don't know.
Well,
I'm,
I would say, that word can be synonymous with Brian sometimes. I think you like to get into some diatribes.
oh my God, I don't even know who it was this weekend, but they were saying the one thing you never want to do is ask Brian a question because he's going to give you this super long-winded explanation. And somebody brought up a great point. The person who gets Brian to ramble the most is Joey.
Oh, is that true? I'd have to think about that.
Joey, excuse me. His
I guess he
superpower.
might give in. He might kind of give in and combat you the most on like a point you're trying to make. He'll come back at you with maybe another side to it and sort of fuel the fire at that point.
Well, I think for Joey, his superpower is he just knows the perfect way to ask me a question, and such that he phrases it to where not only I have to just give him my answer, I have to, Brian, such and such was happening, with such and such. How would you interpret this action to the Joey? Oh my God, let me tell you about how I would interpret
So
this.
he just like buttered you up with like a little context to it, a little backstory with some statistics, and then
I feel he's so good. Yeah, he's so good at getting me to
he's like
just.
kind of starting to jerk you off a little bit, and you're like, oh man, you are getting me all hot and bothered now. I got to jump
That's
into this one.
that's usually I feel how most conversations with Joey end up going. Much to
A little
Lauren's,
jerk off.
yeah, a little jerk off, a little southern reach around, as we like to say. Much to Lauren's displeasure. So I'm never going to be invited in their house again. Um,
That was a given already.
Well, yeah, I mean, I like to think that I have some places to stay up in the Bay, but I feel each one of these podcasts come out, and those places just keep disappearing one by one week after another. So I don't know what to say. John and Haley, Misha, tell your wife I'm out of places to stay in the Bay. So
Yeah.
when Granny gets me out, I'm gonna be your new couch buddy.
Yeah, Orange County, LA just became your best friend. You are not wanted up in NorCal anymore.
Nope, not. I mean, God, it was raining the whole time. For any of those who didn't know, Nick had a nice little bash at his place this last weekend for the first weekend of the playoffs. Happened to coincide with closing on his birthday, and we had a good portion of the league up there. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
Like at least five or six, five at least.
Yeah, it might be one of the bigger like Northern California little get-togethers where kind of coincidentally / non-coincidentally, like a lot of people from the league was. What do we have? 5 people.
I'm trying to. So let's go. So obviously,
No, we had six at one
so
point.
yeah. So it was Nick's place. Obviously, Chris and I drove up from San Diego to be there. So that's 3. You and Siobhan drove up there
So that's
from
4 and 5.
Alameda.
I'm just kidding.
Well, yes, because Siobhan is
She's the
is
brain trust of the
the
operation.
brain trust of the organization. Every organization has to have one, and that's why I'm trying to figure out who the fuck Belichick's is. I always tell Chris that Belichick's and Brady's secret is every time they're going on the road or anywhere at home, the secret to their success is that they butt fuck all their fans, like any fan that's willing to take one for the team, so to speak. And it's Chris. I think Chris is in agreement.
Yeah, it's
absolutely.
it's hard to argue against that.
I don't know. I just had to say butt fuck in at least one of these podcasts, and I just couldn't figure
Check
a
it
good
off
way
the
to
list.
fit. I'm just gonna check that off the list, especially while talking about Belichick and Brady and those fucking first place bastards. But it was
so those 4. We had
that was
we
4
had
people.
Joey Laz as well.
Right, with
And
Lauren, so that was
I think
5.
the
And
biggest wild card was Phil. Yeah, I mean,
Mhm.
I know you had never met Phil before. This was your first time meeting him, right?
This is my first time meeting Phil. I know he had been down, or he has been down to San Diego before, but I don't think I had met him when he had come down. But it was good to be able to meet him for the first time after all these years of being in the league and playing together.
Well, and he was a little bit of a nemesis of yours for a while. Like he just somehow he had your number every time you guys played up until
Yeah.
I think you broke that curse this year. But you guys had some sort of unspoken history there, and you had
Yes.
never actually met each other.
I know, yeah. Well, the truth is where it really grinded my gears, where I just got so jelly, is that Phil always had some fucking awesome like team name and logo
Yeah.
to go with it. And it would always be from like some movie reference, and they were all like the best movies. And anybody who knows me knows I'm a huge movie buff, so so that was just like, oh god damn it, that's so fucking clever, I feel, and every time I'm going up against Phil, I'm just like, son of a bitch, thinking the whole time like I could have done so much better with my name this year. I'm like, fuck.
Well,
But
so you almost had this like kind of picture of this person created in your head, like he knows all these movie quotes, he beats you in fantasy football, he's clever, and then now you finally get to meet him. Did it go as planned, I guess?
I would say it absolutely went as planned. He was everything I thought he would be, and everything I was told about him. He was super chill.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
that's I would have to say we have a wild random collection of characters in this football league, we don't want to leave everybody out. We don't want to all the San Diego and, well, I guess technically LA and Orange County people that couldn't make it. We don't want to leave you out. And in fact, Sean, you and I were talking about this a little bit earlier, that it's kind of a weird time for the fantasy league because at the most part, 6 people are not playing anymore.
Yeah.
The regular season had ended. We've missed a couple podcasts, either for one reason or another, either schedule wise or equipment,
Technology wise, yeah.
just shit in the bed wise. But no, like there's a lot going on, and a lot that we'd like to, I guess, cover and go over, and be able to talk about all these different things. But God, we don't want to go for 5 or 6 hours. I mean, nobody's drive to work is that long.
I mean, I don't know. Misha does live in LA, so he might be
yeah, and
might be
Chris
the one.
and he might be the one. Chris and I actually got stuck in LA traffic coming on down, and that was, well, it's exactly how I remember it. Just
Fucking brutal.
Oh no! I there aren't too many times where I feel there is such a mass collection of people who all want to commit suicide at the very same time. But that's totally what it feels like. But so if we were to, I don't know, think of a way to try to figure this out. You were saying that we've got 2 games coming up this week to determine who's going to be playing in the championship.
Yeah.
And then when next week comes around, there's one game, there's a championship, and a whole bunch of empty space.
Yeah, we're not going to spend the entire time like this week with just 2 matchups, next week with just 1 matchup.
Let's
and that would bore a lot of people as well.
You know what? Actually, now that I'm thinking about this, let's correct this, because if it happens that you and I happen to be those 2 people, I will happily throw away this plan that we're talking about right now and go 2 or 3 hours just talking about mine and your team. Seeing as how we're the ones putting in all the effort.
Yeah. Who's going to stop us?
Seriously. What are you guys going to do? What are you guys? You're going to pull the car over? You're going to give us a text message in the giant group fucking thread that just will blow off for like 40? Let's see, my phone fucking walks like a mile, sometimes if I set it on a table. But no, I think what we'd like to do is we'd like to maybe do some sort of a kind of like a team recap kind of a thing, maybe kind of go through everybody's team and just sort of analyze kind of how the season went, injuries or trades or big wins or fighting for the playoffs, like kind of the story, your story of the year, kind of.
You got to talk like with that accent too. Would make
the
it
movie
much more interesting.
guy.
Exactly.
It's time to talk about your story. Be a part of the biggest thing. Yeah, no, I don't know. That kind
A wild weddle appeared.
Yes, it did. Well, he definitely got pretty fucking wild this weekend, but that is besides the point. So that's something I think, maybe.
Yeah, that would be fun to do. Yeah, like spend some time going through everybody's team. Yeah, create that story for everybody. How did you end up where you ended up in the league? And that could definitely take some time. That might be good to do next week. What I think we were talking about, which would be fun to do this week, that would still incorporate everybody, but maybe save a good amount of time for these other matchups as well, is to maybe go through the first 2, maybe 3 rounds, if we're getting into it, of the draft, and kind of go through each pick and really see where do these people end up? Looking back now, hindsight 2020, were these good picks? And just kind of talk about that and see how much different our perception was from before the season started to where things actually ended up now. I think it'd be pretty interesting because, man, a whole lot of interesting shit happened this season. And I know it started from people's drafts, so that would be pretty fun.
And I think that's we should just go on into it. And if you guys disagree, well, don't disagree. Just listen. Listen and have a good time with listening to how wonderful or how horribly we did in our draft. So should we go ahead and go through round 1?
Yeah, let's just jump right into it. And if we remember, Derek was Mr. Pick number 1. Lucky bastard. And what was Derek gonna do? Who was he gonna pick? Is it gonna be a wide receiver? Is it gonna be a running back? And he picked Antonio Brown, and I don't know if you can argue that was a bad pick. I mean, Antonio Brown was fucking solid the entire season.
I don't think that you can. Just looking at it, just kind of curious. Now, obviously, there are things like quarterbacks and all kinds of just quarterbacks that are the really ridiculous high scores. But I'm kind of curious, out of everybody that scored fantasy football points, where Antonio Brown, number one, first player overall, where did he land as far as the amount of points?
He finished for wide receivers. He finished number 1.
Now, for wide receivers, he finished number 1.
Yeah.
Now, I feel that's a pretty obvious given, and it seemed like this whole offseason before we were about to draft that everybody was praising the wide receivers. Like every single mock draft that you saw, the wide receivers were just going just off the board like crazy.
Yeah,
and it really wasn't
off the shelves. Yeah,
it wasn't until like the later round or the bottom of the draft where you saw really anything else go, whether it be a running back or I don't know, and who knows, a quarterback or anything like that. It was just that's what it seemed like the trend was. And with
couple that with this is the first year we've done a half-point PPR, so that also adds to the value of a wide receiver.
And we had that extra slot, the one that we haven't had before, this RB / wide receiver spot. So a lot of room for catches. So in our draft, it obviously made sense. Antonio Brown is first one off the board. I don't think anybody argues with it.
Yeah, you can't argue with that. Yeah.
It's and we'll see how he continues to do in the playoffs. Now, this next one, obviously we know Nick drafted second and took Odell. Odell, even though he finished as the number 3 wide receiver, do you think he had the season people expected at the number?
Yeah, I would say no. Overall? I would say no, and I mean. That's just my own opinion of just kind of watching how he did, but then listening to Nick, because obviously Nick had Odell, and he was frustrated. Nick was frustrated for a while, especially in that first half of the season where it was very up and down, not a lot of super high-scoring games at all, no breakout game until you got to week 6, and then a lot of low-scoring games too. I think he evened out a lot more in the second half of the season and is who we thought he would be. But I would say, a little disappointing for second overall pick.
Overall, absolutely. I would say, when you're drafting first overall, well, you have your pick of anybody you want. For the most part, you're hoping you get the best player in the draft, like, the best player that's going to be playing this year. Yeah. Antonio Brown at his position, I would say that's not bad. In my opinion, he should have gone a little bit different with the way these scoring points are looking. running backs are really, really high, and wideouts are
Yeah.
not really
I mean, I
not
would,
really
yeah,
close.
obviously, if we were redoing our drafts, I think people would be going running back heavy
And that's
a lot more.
and I'm actually curious. I think that would be a cool little exercise to talk about this. Like if we were just to do the first round for the, if we were to redo in retrospect
Yeah.
how we would do the draft for this year. But anyway, yeah,
Like,
Odell, I agree with you. I think he was
yeah.
kind of a disappointment, especially for number 2 overall. Julio Jones was the next
Yeah,
wide receiver selected.
John had the third pick, picked Julio. I would say Julio overall was definitely super strong. One of those receivers you fucking wish you had if you didn't have him. He's sort of tapered off a bit in the last few weeks, but up until those last few weeks, I mean, he was like the guy or one of the two guys that that was like the surefire. Had a low floor and a super high ceiling. So I don't know. I'd be curious how John feels about picking him number 3. He probably would say I would rather have had a running back at this point, but damn, I would say I'd be happy with Julio as my number 3 choice.
Yeah, I would be happy with Julio. Obviously, if John, I would say John really, really lucked out getting that bye. That bye was just kind of in retrospect.
Yeah.
That bye was huge because that Julio Jones scratch, if he was playing, that would have been a key cog that he would have lost out.
Yeah, he had one of his worst. John had one of his worst weeks last week, and that was a very timely buy for him right there.
So good on you, John. That was definitely well worth it. I don't know what's going to happen. Hopefully he will continue to play. I haven't heard any news yet.
I disagree with that. I hope he does not play.
Well, I know. I just say for the sake of this, we're not getting into the matchups just yet. But for the sake of the retrospect, looking back at all the different things that had happened, looking back at the draft. It'd be really shitty for John's 3rd round pick, who's been amazing for him, to just disappear when he needs them the most. It's not such a big deal for Sean. But
this is getting into number 4. This is when things start to really take a downward spiral here. Phil had the 4th pick, and he was the first one to go running back after 3 wide receivers. Thinking take a running back off the board, and went with the hot hand, the guy who through the second half of last year's season was the guy you wanted to have on your team. I mean, you had Todd Gurley last year.
I did. And
I'm
when
sure
he came,
you had nothing but good things to say about him coming into this year, as most people did.
Well, I did after having him. I mean, he was like, the talent is real, absolutely. And I absolutely agreed with Phil that running backs were going to be the important factor in this year's league. But the funny thing is just the particular running back got so unlucky with the one he picked.
Yeah.
Todd Gurley was a big disappointment this year. I mean, he the first back drafted. Finished 20th.
20th, yeah, man. Yeah,
that's
a huge.
Rough.
That's a 16 points swing from 4th pick to finishing 20th. Yeah, that definitely really hurts. I will say, I mean, nobody expected Todd Gurley, I think, to do as bad as he actually did this year.
Not as bad as he did, but then again, I think what a lot of people were hoping is that with the Rams getting the number 1 pick, and taking Goff.
Yeah.
The idea was you get one solid rookie and pair him with another solid rookie. Look at Dallas with Dak and Zeke this year, right?
True.
Maybe that was the hope, that was the idea, is that he was going to pan out and Todd Gurley was going to actually have some breathing room. But no, the quarterback play in LA was terrible, and they were just stacking the box against Gurley the entire year.
Yeah.
At the regular season, he only had 4 touchdowns.
And I will say, I mean, hindsight 2020, obviously, I didn't really know this going into it because I didn't look at Todd Gurley that much last year. But he's not a running back that is involved in the passing game like some of them are.
I don't think he barely. I think he barely is at all. Like,
Exactly.
yeah,
He's not involved. So being that we're in a half-point PPR certainly lowers his value versus a running back who would be involved in the pass game, which takes us nicely into the number 5 pick that Joey took.
who might as well have
Yeah.
been the fucking best player fucking
Good
drafted
Lord.
this year.
David Johnson, fucking beast.
Unreal. Unreal. Let's just count. Why don't we just have fun? How many 30-point games did David Johnson have? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 fucking 30-point games. How many 20-point games? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Like,
the fact
Jesus,
that David Johnson, I mean, obviously he was the number 1 running back. Obviously he's the number 1 flex. He's the number 4 in our league. Number 4 overall scoring
points.
Position player. Only 3 quarterbacks, Drew Brees, Matt Ryan, and Aaron Rodgers, are ahead of him, and they're not even that far ahead of him, honestly.
No. Drew Brees is at 325, and David Johnson's at 298.5.
I mean,
like, that
he almost
is
scored
stupid.
as much as Drew Brees. Like,
Come on.
he scored more than Andrew Luck. I mean,
Now, since funny enough, he didn't. Did he have? No, he did not have a touch. He did not have a touchdown in this last week in the playoffs. So this will be easy. How many touchdowns did he have in the regular season? Let's go ahead and do rushing ones first. 3, 5, 8, 10, 11 is what I see. Is that what you see?
he has 11 rushing touchdowns and 4 receiving touchdowns. So,
Yep.
I mean, 15 touchdowns already. That's the most by any position player. He's over 1,000 rushing yards, and the big thing is 745 receiving yards. I mean, he could eclipse 1,000 receiving yards and 1,000 rushing yards, which I don't have enough historical football knowledge to know how many times that's happened, but that seems
Probably
pretty
not
fucking
many.
cool.
Well, I'd be curious to, like, and I haven't been listening to a lot of sports pundits or reading a lot of sports writers to hear what they've been saying about David Johnson's season as far as historic. Like, I would have to imagine that it's
He has, yeah.
it's got to be.
sorry.
It's got to be. Oh no, I don't know. It's got to be something. Like, his season was absolutely incredible. Joey, this guy should. I mean, I think we all know this guy should have been the number 1 player, a number 1 pick this year. He was.
Yeah.
He was just the best at his position. Obviously, 4th best as far as points are considered. And
One cool stat, well, it's disappointing for some, but cool on the other side. He has more receiving yards than Brandon Marshall, than
God.
DeAndre Hopkins,
Ooh.
then way more, over 100 more than Des Bryant, over 100 more than Allen Robinson, over 100 more than Alshon Jeffrey. I mean, Randall Cobb. It's just insane.
I don't know. I don't know if there's anything else that we can say. If we want to jerk off on David Johnson anymore, like, I think we all know who will be the consensus number 1 pick next year. I don't think there's a question about it in my mind after watching him this year. I guess, a lot of people, Joey, props to you for knowing it and taking him with, your first round pick, the most important pick that you have. You took what you needed to get. And,
I mean, he's a consensus, borderline first RB picked up off the board. People know he had that receiving component to his game as well. So, I mean, Joey, nice job taking him. I mean, can't say you did anything fucking crazy there, but, definitely when you have other options like in Adrian Peterson out there and still pick David Johnson. So that really worked out, carried Joey into the playoffs. It wasn't enough to help him win this last week, but certainly carried a lot of people to the playoffs. So,
absolutely. He could have picked up, just like you said, he could have picked up Adrian Peterson, could have picked up Le'Veon Bell, even though he was suspended. But even still, I wouldn't have scoffed at it if Joey picked him up 5, because Le'Veon was going to be a stud when he came back. He had all kinds of choices. He made the right choice. We're going on with this forever. It's just too fun to talk about. I feel like fantasy is a lot of fun to talk about, especially when we're talking about how it impacts us, how it went for us. These are our decisions. This isn't ESPN talking about it. This is what we did, and this is how it played out for us. And so this is really cool. Jimmy, I wouldn't have. I didn't really argue with it at the time. Did AJ finish number? Oof.
No, he was
that
what,
injury.
16? Yeah.
That injury. God. Yeah, that really killed. I mean, he
yeah,
was.
You have to think he would have been probably top 10 at least if he had, been able to play the last 4 weeks. That's a lot of points right there. So he would have been easily top 10, if not, even top 5. So, injuries happen. Definitely sucks. Lowered his value overall pretty considerably. And
not the only injury that we had in the first round. I think we had 3. No, I think we had 3 total. And that's devastating for your team, especially when it's your number 1 pick. Where this is where you need to get a number 1 player at whatever position it is that you're drafting. You can't missing on this pick is, I feel, really tough to recover from.
Yeah,
it's possible. But
speaking of which, that's a good segue into.
Speaking of which, and we
number
were just
7. Talk about swing and a miss in the first round here, and somehow I'm still alive right now, which is pretty crazy.
Props to you.
Fucking Hopkins, what a painful pick to have to deal with, and. He ended up finishing 35th is where he's at right now. It was the large swing from drafting him number 7.
Number 7, he was the 5th? The 5th wide receiver.
5th wide receiver taken, 35th where he's at now. And he was just the problem with him. I mean, you can always argue that, you lose your first round pick to injury early on. That sucks because you don't have that person. But at the same time, I feel like I've been slowly bleeding out with DeAndre Hopkins. He's not bad enough to just be like, oh, get this guy out of my fucking lineup. Obviously not very good, and so I've just been dealing with this guy week in, week out in my starting lineup of getting less than 10 points.
Yeah, I can see. Oh man, and it's really interesting to see how the beginning of the season kind of played out, because you look at it.
First 2 games were great. I was like, fuck yeah, feeling good about my first round pick, and then it breaks down significantly.
Well, the funny thing is one's a game against New England. He got 7 points. So you were hoping for a little bit more. But
I can understand.
It's at Foxborough, so shit. All right, not a lot of people are going to do good there. But then against Tennessee, 0.5.
And you see 1 reception, and then you're thinking, wait, why the fuck aren't they throwing the ball to him? I mean, then it gets decent. It gets okay from there. You can live with 13. You can live with 11, and then
that Indy game. I mean, he had 9 receptions for 71. Now that's what you're expecting. That's what you're expecting, right? And then you go back down and oh my God, that stretch. What 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fucking games under 10 points. Only no touchdowns in that span, averaging what? 4 or 5 catches. 5 catches. It looks like 40 yards. 50 yards.
He only finished with so far right now 60 receptions on the season, and you talk about Antonio Brown number 1 has 93. I mean, he's just they weren't fucking Brock Osweiler. You have done something bad, you son of a bitch. DeAndre Hopkins is such a talented guy. It's such a bummer to see the quarterback play just really take him out of a lot of games.
Yeah, no kidding.
Still living with that, but hey, what can I say? I'm still in the playoffs right now, so it could be a lot worse. And then conversely, you've got the next pick of Chris right here.
I love how we're kind of segueing into this. Could be a lot worse. Well, I guess there could be the most worst, and I would say the player that everybody always seems to want every single time. I know I've never had him, and I've always wanted to draft him. And when he comes to you, how can you not pull the trigger? Adrian Peterson. Oh yeah. God, at number 8 for Chris. God, only 5 points on the entire year, right?
Yeah, he went out in sometime in the end of week 2. He still had 12 carries in that game, but man, what he was doing in the first two games already when he was quote unquote healthy was really bad.
Yeah.
And then obviously he's done. I don't know, maybe he'll play in another game this year. He's off IR right now. We'll see, but obviously huge blow to Chris's team to lose your number one running back, your number one pick in the second week. That's
yeah.
tough. That's tough to recover from.
No, that's he is the third running back taken, and I didn't even know that there were that many fantasy running backs that had points, but there are 114 apparently, or 113 above him. Yeah. So, no, that's not at all what you expect from your first round, but these injuries do happen. That is not the stroke of luck that Chris was looking for. And I guess speaking of luck, will come to me. I'll tell you, I was so unhappy when I selected ninth. I wanted Adrian Peterson. I saw him dropping to me, and I was just like, God, I just got to get past Chris. Nope. Pulled. Fuck. Looking at it, who the fuck else there's nobody else worth drafting in the first. This one rookie, Gronk, Le'Veon suspended. Oh my God, what am I supposed to fuck? I guess I'm just gonna have to try. Just hope to God that offensive line is as awesome as they say, and pull the trigger on Zeke. Wow,
yeah,
talk about luck.
What a situation for you. Yeah, man, things could have swung drastically. It would be interesting to see what would have happened if Chris had had Zeke and you had AP, and where we would be at right now. But obviously that's not the world that we live in, and nope. That ended up being a monster pick. I mean, talk about the model of consistency. He never had a game under 11 points the entire season, and was usually in the high teens, if not well above that.
I will say that 11 points, that wasn't even in the regular season. Like, he had an 11.5 the very first game he ever played as a rookie against the Giants, and then last week, funny enough, he played the Giants again and got 11. But yeah, you're right. The entire year, it was just I never had to worry about him.
Never.
I mean, never. It was amazing. I mean, even to give me like a 40-point game, come on, a 30-point game for a rook. That was, and to have been as consistent as he was all the time, not just running the ball, but he did give me, I think it was one receiving touchdown, but he did get a few receptions, did give me a few yards. I mean, the points were just there. I never had to worry about him. So this is the fourth running back selected, finished second
overall on points. Yeah, I mean, good, really good. You got more than your money's worth for that pick. That worked out really nice. I mean, normally you're sitting at number 9 in the draft and you're thinking, God, where is this going to fall? Am I going to be picking a wide receiver? Am I going to be picking a running back? And that could not have gone any better. It couldn't. There's nothing else. I mean, unless somehow David Johnson went down to you, obviously. But given that, there's nothing better you could have done.
No, just as you're playing that fun example. I mean, as far as where Zeke finished in points, who was right under him? People like Bortles, Brady, Dalton, fucking quarterbacks.
All these quarterbacks. Yeah, he's in the fucking quarterback category. You might as well have had 2 quarterbacks on your team.
So yeah, it was really great. It really came down to luck, I would say, and I feel like we're just rolling right on into this because next pick was another unlucky one.
Oof, yeah, this was tough. Misha stuck in that 10 spot. Knows he has back-to-back picks coming up, so he could be a little more creative with that, and decides to go tight end. I mean, Gronk is more like a receiver, honestly, than a tight end. I mean, I don't know. I can't really fault him for the pick because when Gronk is in and he's healthy, he is so fucking good. But, I mean, I don't know. Hindsight, it's so much easier to look back and just look at round 2 and say, God, look at all these other people he could have had. Like, why would you pick a tight end? But
no, it was Gronk. It was Gronk, and this was going to be a bloodthirsty revenge year for the Patriots, which, as it turns out, it did seem to be. Brady's been playing fucking pretty goddamn good. But the funny thing is that was just one of those another one of those years for Gronk. And dude, I haven't really heard from Chris, because he's always my best source for Patriots information, because he's always fucking complaining about it. Especially if something bad is happening, like possible career-ending injury for Gronk. Like, I'm not sure where this is at right now. I don't know where you've heard, but I mean, what is he had already 2 or 3 surgeries on his back, and this is like, I mean,
he's had so many surgeries on his back especially. Like, he had arm stuff or shoulder stuff, but. Yeah, I mean, I haven't heard any real big news about career-ending injuries. Like, I haven't heard Stephania Bell say anything about that. And the guy is like the Hulk. I mean, he is a freak.
Well,
if there's anybody that can come back after all these injuries, it would definitely be him.
I would agree, but man, at this point in time, the Hulk's joints are all put together with fucking tape and like all. I mean, I feel like this guy is just he's going to keep playing until he literally breaks apart in the field.
Well, that's the thing. Like, that's why I don't think what he has now is career-ending, because he's going to fucking trot out there day one, first game of next season. I mean, he could get injured that game too, but I think he'll be out there on the field though.
Well, we'll see, and I'll talk to Chris about it. But I mean, if he ends up having another surgery on his back, anything like that, I mean, I expect maybe he might be back, but I wouldn't expect it next year. But all of us are going to be following along with when it comes up to the off season, so we're all going to know what's going on. But just talk about unlucky. Oh, and not to mention unlucky, going into the next pick for Misha.
Back-to-backs. Yep.
God, back-to-back unlucky picks. Like, Allen Robinson did not turn out where you wanted him to. I'm not sure. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 wide receivers drafted before him, so he's the 6th wide receiver drafted. Lands 31.
Yeah, so he's right. 31. Yikes. Yep.
God, I mean, okay, just the
still,
last.
Still better than DeAndre Hopkins, though.
Still better than DeAndre Hopkins, I will agree. But here's your week a few weeks leading up to the playoffs. Last few weeks of the season, when you need your first, second round picks to really shine. 3 points, 4.5. He did get a touchdown the week before, so that was 8.5, but only off of 3 receptions for 18 yards.
I would say so. I'm just comparing DeAndre and Allen Robinson here. At least DeAndre, maybe give or take 1 or 2 weeks where he threw up really, really bad games, but he was consistently getting anywhere from like 5 to like 9 points. Yeah, that hurts, but it's not potentially killing you. Where you look at Allen Robinson, he had so many weeks of 1, 3, 1.5. Like, those are gonna fucking kill you. Like that up and down. A lot of his points are bundled into like 3 or 4 big games, and the rest of it's just garbage.
No, absolutely. And just like you were saying, like, you can't bench him. Why? Like, I mean, that's
such a tough bench.
That's such a high. I mean, what are you supposed to do? Like, I mean, we're gonna end up talking about it at some point. But what are you supposed to do with DeAndre in the playoffs? I mean, God, it's like it's such a valuable pick, and when it misses, it just is. It's so difficult, and so I know a lot of things happen in the regular season, which will determine how the year goes out, but the draft also it comes down to a lot of luck, and unfortunately for Misha, his first 2 picks just did not turn out all that lucky, and that's
goes to show rough. He kind of finished at the bottom of the barrel for the league here. I mean, when their first 2 draft picks are that bad, definitely going to make things very difficult for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And funny, and so I ended up drafting Lamar Miller next, and not to say that this guy made it difficult for me. We all know the Texans were somehow able to win games.
Yeah. It always surprises me when I hear they're leading their division. I'm like, what the fuck?
it doesn't make it. That's just how bad the AFC South is
Yep.
for, it's unreal because every time I watch them, anybody who was an owner of any Texans player was just, God, these guys are fucking
Painful.
horrible. But funny enough, somehow, some way, Lamar Miller was able to get me something. I mean, he just always, like, when you look at his numbers over the years, I can't believe he was able to get 100 yards the first game, 83, 80, 82. He's getting, 19 to 28 carries, right? And they're all tough yards. Like when we're watching those games, it's like, oh, there he goes for one or two. Oh, he maybe got 3 or 4.
He's seriously one of those running backs that gutted it out. And I watched a lot of Texans games because I had DeAndre Hopkins, and he was just a fucking workhorse. Like he was kind of reminded me of like a Frank Gore, where he's not busting huge plays very often, but he's just gutting out all these runs. And look, I mean, pretty consistently around 80 plus yards. Just the touchdowns were the elusive part.
That's 3 touchdowns, three on the ground. He got 1 in the air the regular season. The
Texans just were such a low-scoring team in general. Like they weren't in the red zone very much. They just didn't have the opportunities that, on the flip side, like a LeGarrette Blount scored 14 fucking touchdowns.
Or maybe possibly the opportunities of some dude who just somehow, some way managed to put up, what was it this last weekend? Was it fucking 52 goddamn points?
What a fucking performance.
Goddamn. Chris, I hope by now the Viagra, the Le'Veon Bell Viagra has worn off, that your hard on has gone away, because holy shit, 236 on the ground, 3 touchdowns. Oh, and not only that, he had 4 receptions for 62 yards in the air. Like, wow. Le'Veon Bell, what a great pick in the second round, even though he was on, he had that suspension.
Yeah, that's a pick where, you're not getting the first 3 games, but at the same time, you're not getting the first 3 games, so you have a contingency plan for it. So it's not going to kill you from surprise. And then once he was back in, I mean, he was the Le'Veon that we all expected. Just
absolutely,
one game under 10 points.
Yep, 1 game,
and that's not going to kill you. And then just a lot of monster games around that.
Absolutely, and he's I think I counted it 6th running back taken, finished 4th, and that's missing
without 3 games.
Without 3 games, so with 3 games. I don't think he was close to David Johnson at all. I'm trying to find him as far as the points. So there he goes. Okay, so no, not anywhere even close to David Johnson. But at the same time, ahead of Cam Newton, ahead of Eli, ahead of Joe, and finished above Antonio, who was the number 1 player picked just period in the draft. So this guy, and still missed 3 games. Yeah. So this guy is amazing. Had a great year, and I feel like this pick salvaged Chris's season. This like his whole name, like Le'Veon a prayer, like that was it. Like Le'Veon was his prayer. Unfortunately, there were some other things that didn't go Chris's way, didn't work out. But the one thing that did work out was Le'Veon Bell, and that was definitely a solid pick in the second round.
Agreed. Yeah, would have loved to have had him myself. And I definitely I almost had a chance to grab him. Not sure if I would have, because I was picking right after Chris in the second round and opted to go. I definitely was in that pool of people that was like, I got to go wide receiver heavy. My first 3 draft picks were wide receivers. Yep. But really happy the way my second pick came out with Jordy Nelson. I know he was coming off the injury. He was out the entire year last season, so people were sure speculating, is he going to be back at form again? And I just read all these reports, and all the people that do injury stuff were just saying he looks great. So took maybe a little bit of a chance on that. But so he was the 7th wide receiver.
7th. Yep, I just counted. Just counted that. Yep, finished 4th.
So I mean, God, you can't really ask for a lot more than that. Definitely got more than my money's worth for that one.
Now there was only one game where he ever really hurt you, and that was week 7. Only got 1 catch. I couldn't get 10 yards, so it ended up being
game. Yeah. Otherwise, he is. I mean, look at the model of consistency for touchdowns. That's his thing. He's not getting a ton of receptions for the most part. Not getting, he's not a huge play guy, but he's the end zone target, and
Yep.
that's nice to be able to rely on that because that can really create a high floor, and so you don't have a guy putting up 3-4 points at all.
No kidding.
Actually, I
And
was curious how he had 12 touchdowns, which I think it's the most of any wide receiver.
That might.
I'm looking at that right now.
Wow, damn, that's pretty fucking awesome, I would say. Where we go? Stats. Here we go. Touchdowns, you motherfuckers.
Yeah, Antonio Brown had 11. Mike Evans had 10. So he has less
Yeah.
yards than those guys too. A lot less receptions, but he's the touchdown machine.
No kidding. Yeah, no, that's what you want. That's what you want. That's what you would expect to see from wide receiver drafted in the second round.
Yeah. And then you go to the flip side for the next one for Jimmy here. This guy had a much higher expectations than where he actually ended up, at least for right now. And I'm sure Jimmy may have gone a different direction if he could have redrafted. He would tell us. But Dez Bryant had a very, very up and down, tough year. And I think overall was a disappointment. I mean, he finished as the 37th ranked.
Yep.
That's bad. That's really bad.
That's God. I don't.
When you tie Deshaun Jackson for 37th as in wide receiver rankings, you're not thinking that guy's drafted in the second round.
I don't even know where Deshaun Jackson was drafted, if he was drafted in our draft at all. I don't think he was.
Yeah, good question. I don't
he
think
might
he was drafted.
He might have been, but if he was, it would have been so fucking low. Like that, God, yeah. And I don't know what to say because the Cowboys, obviously, they've been winning games, but not really through the air all that much. I mean, people can talk to me all they want about Dak Prescott, but honestly, I really feel that the truth is that offensive line, the fact that they've got a running back that's fucking, as we just talked about, as money as Zeke has been, and then a rookie that's not turning the ball over, that can handle the ball and make some good decisions and get some touchdowns here and there. Like, that's going to win you games, but that's not going to equal a good fantasy season for all the pieces involved. And Dez didn't turn out to get the benefit of that at all.
Yeah, such an up and down player this year. Had some good games, but good Lord, he had a lot of just straight garbage games. I'd be super frustrated if I was a Dez owner.
No, I think, and talk about frustrated owners. I mean, Brandon Marshall.
Yeah.
We might as well forget. We might as well forget about Brandon Marshall, as Joey put on his name for the longest time. And funny enough,
good name to have.
I
don't think that Joey meant it in that way.
I don't think he meant it either, but it's so funny how it all turned out because he is what? So you said that Jordy was 7th, Dez was 8th. So Brandon Marshall was the 9th wide receiver drafted, and he's finished the lowest so far of anybody that we've talked about, 39th. Like, talk about garbage games. Oh, man, you've got to, let's see, what are his lowest? 3.5, 3, 4.5, 4.5. 6.5, 6. God. Just last week.
When a receiver that is a free agent right now on the Minnesota Vikings named Adam Thielen is ranked 3 spots higher than Brandon Marshall, you know it's bad.
Yeah, he had. Oh God, I don't even know if there was any upside to that. Like he had some good games. I'm not gonna say he had a 22-point game. Yeah, 14, 16. 1 or 2 weeks, 15.
Yeah, when he would get a touchdown, that was basically it.
Oh, you're right. I just read every time he got a touchdown, and one other time where he actually had 6 receptions for 100 yards.
Otherwise,
other than that,
it was real bad.
No, real bad, and not what you expect at all from Brandon Marshall. Now, funny enough, moving on to the next pick, I'm not really sure what I expected from Devontae Freeman this year, who's what Phil took with his pick in the second.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, myself included, were very skeptical about Devontae Freeman because
Oh,
obviously
you had him
last
last year.
year he was the waiver pickup of the year, the number one running back, and loved having him for the most part. But the second half, or maybe the last like quarter or third of the season, he really dropped off and wasn't the dominating factor that he was for the first 2/3 to 3/4 of the season. And because of that, I was a little skeptical about this guy, like not being the consensus number one draft pick. Usually you're like, who was the number one running back last year? Oh, he'll probably be the number one consensus, pick the following year. This was not like that at all.
No, and I felt the exact same way. I think everybody did, and that's why he fell so far. So you're hoping for, in Phil's position, you're hoping that the running back you get, it's gonna be good in the second. Who did Phil take in the first? He took he picked Todd Gurley. That's right. So he went heavy on the running backs.
Heavy. Yeah, he was like, fuck everybody in these wide receivers. I'm taking running backs. And
I was right there with him.
Ended up being a pretty good pick, I would say. I mean, finished 8th overall.
Where was he? Yeah, let's see.
I guess he's not the 8th running back picked, but
1, 2. He's close. 5, 6, 7. He's the 8th running back picked.
Okay, well, you got exactly what you paid for.
Exactly, Phil. Congratulations on the best deal of the year.
Yeah.
You did not get ripped off at all, but unfortunately, you didn't get a bargain either. But you got exactly what you paid for, like Sean said. John,
talk about not getting what you paid for.
Unlike his first pick with Julio Jones, so if Devontae is 8th picked, Eddie Lacy is 9th running back selected, and is the 62 ranked running back right now and hasn't played for pretty much the entire year on IR. And even when he played,
he wasn't
getting anything.
That's only frustrating 5 weeks that you had to endure with Eddie Lacy, and
one good week, one good
100-yard rushing game, and then the rest was not what you're looking for from your number one running back. If you're John's team, that's your number one running back.
No kidding. And obviously John is now going to be playing this week. He's got a divisional playoff matchup, whatever we would want to call it. Or whatever.
Semifinal.
Matchup, thank you. That's much better. So he somehow, he was able to figure it out and get past this. But that's still that really hurts when your second round pick is just not performing.
So a lot of back and forth in this round two. It's like really good, really bad, really good, really bad, and which brings us to a really good pick. And this was probably, in the first 2 rounds, this is up there with the most value for where you got this player.
You got him.
Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely.
This guy was a surprise for how good he was because, he was good last year, but ran into issues where he dropped a lot of balls, wasn't getting a lot of touchdowns at all. He would rack up the yards, but this year he really put it all together, and Mike Evans had a fabulous year.
What is he, like the 9th or 10th wide receiver taken in our league? And he
finished second
finishes second. And I'm just kind of curious if I can even find him on the points. Okay, so he finishes above Odell Beckham, which is Nick's first round pick. He finishes above Jordy, finishes above T.Y. Hilton, above Julio Jones, above Carson Wentz, Simeon, LeGarrette Blount. He had himself a really great year, and I feel for the bottom of the second round, that's just like you said, huge value. Didn't really come up in the very last few weeks leading up, the last week of the regular season.
A little bit there.
Yeah. But even still, if you're Nick, you're happy about it. That was great, and I'm sure he's going to be on a lot of people's radar next year.
I would have to agree with that.
And now coming to Mark Ingram, which was by Derek's pick, last pick of the second round. Oh man, talk about up and down,
roller coaster of emotions with this guy.
Absolutely, and because his downs are really down, has a negative 2 point game at one point, 1.5, really
Yeah,
low games.
especially started off quite like just people were like, "What the hell?" I thought this guy was gonna be, especially in a half-point PPR, he can catch passes. People had
Mhm.
really, I had really high expectations, and I was really hoping that Ingram would somehow drop to me in the third round, and kind of glad that didn't happen. But yeah, what he was probably the eighth or ninth overall running back picked
I
and
think, yeah, something
finished
like that. Yeah.
16th, so definitely well below the
Or I guess he's the 10th. He's the 10th
oh
running back
10th,
pick.
so
Funny,
10th
yeah,
and finished 16th. So I mean, not terrible,
not
but
terrible,
the
but
up
the
and
game,
down nature
yeah.
is he definitely would help you win some games, but he also probably contributed to you losing some games too.
Absolutely. Has a 29.5, a 30-point game, 20 and 18. But in between all these sixes and negative twos and sevens and
Yeah,
1.5s,
those
I mean,
hurt.
God, yeah, you're like that's rough, and you got to start them. So what are you gonna do? Yeah, that's a rough one.
Yeah.
Well, we
Well,
have been
yeah,
talking
well,
about
this
this
is.
forever.
I think we've gone on a little longer than we expected. This has been fun,
Well,
but it's
well,
already been. It's
it's
been almost an hour already, and we definitely have to talk about these upcoming matchups, or else what the fuck are we even doing?
No, we're not doing much, and we can also kind of quickly just go over the quick scores. Now we did have two games that happened last week. Really exciting for one of us here, and not so
Yeah.
exciting for some other people. Derek, who doesn't listen all that much, maybe might listen once or twice. Exciting for him, not so exciting for Joey or Jimmy.
Yeah, a lot of. I mean, last week in general in fantasy. I mean, you look at the scores up and down. Really low scoring week. A lot of like top tier quarterbacks did really bad.
Yep,
Just a lot of really dud performances last week. And so, I mean, you look at the two people who lost. 90.5 for Joey, 86.5 for Jimmy. Not
tough.
those aren't the usual performances that you're seeing. So it wasn't so much some out of the park, performances. It was really these,
Oh, and there was
who
one.
could,
There was one out of the park
well,
performance.
yeah, who
I
had
would say
no impact
the,
at
the
all.
one out of the park performance that might have saved that week for you was, oh my God, 27 fucking points.
True. I guess we can
from-
touch on my highest scoring player of the week.
It was not Carlos Hyde at 26.5, which is fucking awesome for Carlos. That
Huge
was
game for Carlos,
oh my
almost
God,
200
190.
yards, yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Wow, huge game for him. But yeah,
Falcons defense. Thank you, Los Angeles Rams, for being so fucking terrible.
Oh man, and dude, they would have had if the Rams had not gotten that touchdown at the end of the game, they would have had like I think at one point you were as high like whenever I texted you, it was like 38 or 30 or 36 or I don't know what it was.
Something
It was
outrageous.
high. It was high. It was really high. It was awesome. But and that saved your week. Even when Drew Brees puts up 4 fucking points, Matt Forte puts up a goose egg.
Yeah.
Like Delaney, I mean, yeah, no,
A lot of
and,
shit performances and just
Yeah, no
a
kidding.
couple really good ones that propelled me. And I mean, you look at Jimmy's team and just a lot of bad performances.
Roethlisberger, yeah, no, that was Le'Veon's game. Just give it to Le'Veon the
Yeah.
whole fucking time. Let him
Lucked
score
out
every
there
single
for
point.
sure.
God, Des Bryant, that was his negative fucking game. Like, God,
Yeah,
that
one catch and he fumbled it.
oh man, now it's just tough week for Jimmy, and I think it's the exact same way for Joey.
Yeah,
Joey
Joey just did not. I mean, he had
Oh.
Tyreek Hill who went on that Thursday game. Joey looked,
good.
decent.
He looked good
going into
on that Thursday
yeah.
on that Thursday game. Everything.
Yeah, Travis
happened-
Kelsey, Tyreek Hill. I mean, Spencer Ware didn't do that
Yeah,
much, but
yeah,
you got to be thinking. I mean, those are some of the biggest performances you had the whole week, and nothing else really panned out other than Deshaun Jackson having a nice game. But
that was
Yeah.
a good play for you because he had already looked kind of up and down. It was 5.5 before, 20, 13, 0, 5.5. I mean, yeah, that was a tough choice to make, and I think Joey made the right one there. But God, all these pieces that he needed, even David Johnson, his biggest,
held in
most
check.
important piece. Yeah, not where I think that wasn't his lowest output of the season, but it was one of his lowest. So
yeah, Derek just has a couple people to thank, and that would be Aaron Rodgers and the two
The
Denver
two
wide receivers on the same team.
Bullshit, whatever this bullshit fucking fantasy goddamn magic that Derek is able. Like, I couldn't believe this when I saw this on Sunday. That between the two of them, on the same fucking team, two wide receivers on the same team got 40 fantasy points.
Yeah.
Oh my God, like that is so lucky. I mean, Antonio Brown didn't even get him double digits. Mark Ingram got him 1.5. But yeah, that's all you need. You just need old Aaron and two wideouts on the same team, which should move. I don't think
plenty of points. Beat Joey by 30 and a half. So yeah, he had plenty of buffer there.
I don't think that's a move many people would make. So Derek, if you ever do listen to this, that is some fucking fantasy stones that you have, and I will say, wow, like that was a good call to make, good trade. That I would say worked out. You're in the fucking playoffs. You're in round 2. Pretty impressive. And so now we're here. We've got our 2 matchups coming up this week. You got number 1 seed, me, at 11-2, going against the number 4 seed, Derek, which I was kind of curious about. I wasn't sure how that worked out. I technically thought I was supposed to be playing you, Sean, the number 6 seed, but I guess that's not how Joey had it.
Yeah, I guess we had it just straight bracket style, where you could have known the entire time you were playing the winner of Joey and Derek's matchup.
Right.
But so it didn't go based on the rankings on that one, but
which I've seen it do in other people's leagues.
Yeah, I think that's something you can tweak, I'm sure, but not something that I don't think a lot of people think about.
No, absolutely not, and not that that matters. I mean, I was excited if we were going to get a chance to play a playoff game together.
It does leave the door open for a podcast championship, which look, who knows? Let's not get ahead of ourselves. I'm just saying it. I
don't think I could knock on. I mean, let's
just have this recorded, us knocking for the next 10 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. Because Jesus, that would be what a story of the year. So we've got me against Derek. It's going to be a close matchup, I think. Aaron Rodgers is always scary. He's going up against Chicago. That's going to be a tough game.
I mean, Aaron's battling a little bit of an injury right now, but he's going to play.
He's got a little bit of an injury. He's got a little bit of a sore fucking thigh. You're seeing him huddling a little. The reason he's he's taking it easy. He needs Olivia Munn to fucking massage that shit just a little bit. So Aaron, I think I'm not expecting Aaron Rodgers to miss the game.
No, he won't miss the game, but will he be hobbled at all?
Held back? No,
I don't know.
I don't think Aaron Rodgers is the type of quarterback.
I doubt it unless he takes a nasty hit or falls weird or something like that.
Now, here's where I feel actually a little bit happy is that those fancy wide receivers of Derek's, they're going against New England. That's going to
stout defense.
Well, and I mean, you got Bill Belichick. If Bill Belichick is going to do anything, he's going to take away your best weapons.
Yeah.
And so
thankfully,
I don't know.
It's not in Foxborough, but still, to your point, you're right that's the game plan. Take away the top options on offense.
So we'll see how this all goes. I have got
could be I don't know. That's another thing too is Brady's going up against Denver, who is a very, very good, the number 1 defense against the pass. So
but you're talking about the Patriots, and I mean the Broncos always play them well.
And I know it's Brady. He's a fucking god among quarterbacks. He might be the best quarterback ever. But
maybe, yeah.
I'm just saying it may not be the highest scoring game
no.
that you would expect from Brady, which could potentially take away value from Sanders and Demaryius Thomas, that this won't be some high-scoring shootout where the ball's being thrown around everywhere. This might be more of a gutted-out type game, lower scoring. So
well, it could be. It's an afternoon game, so it's gonna be interesting to see. Who knows how cold it's gonna be in Denver.
Very fucking cold.
I mean, but this is actually going to be a huge game for me and Derek because I've also got LeGarrette Blount going and Julian Edelman. So that's going to be a big, big game for both of us. It's going to be exciting. I can't wait.
Well, you've got some good pieces. I mean, you've got Matt Ryan going
oh
against SF.
God,
I
I
could
hope
see
to
that
get.
being big,
I hope.
unless all the fucking touchdowns somehow end up, rushing
Right,
vulture
right, rushing
touchdowns.
backs. But yeah, no, I'm hoping that that's going to pan out. I hope Dallas has a bounce back game against Tampa.
Yeah.
I think they probably will. I mean, they've had so much attention this year with how good they've been, right? Like I feel like the pressure is on Dallas. They're on the hot seat more than they ever been in their own building because they actually might have a chance to do something this year. So
Yeah.
this is the chance. I'm not worried about Dallas against Tampa. I think they're gonna come back and do well. I don't know about Lamar against Jacksonville. I mean, the last time he played Jacksonville, I can't remember what he got. 15 for 83 on the ground, no catches. So
Yeah, and that was at Jacksonville. I don't know. I would expect probably like 10 points from him.
that's true. It's gonna be if it's gonna be at Texas, they do play a lot better in wherever the fuck.
In their fucking, I don't even know if they play in a dome or what.
I
I
don't know.
hate that I have to watch, and you know it too. Have to watch Houston games sometimes.
I've actually chosen. Funny enough, the ones that I've really watched all the way through full have always been their primetime games.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it just happens to be when Lamar Miller is fucking actually. I think that's actually been
all right.
all the. It's been all the indie games. Like there was one Thursday one, and I think there was like a Sunday or I can't remember which the other one was, but both those indie games, Lamar Miller actually did really
Yeah,
well on
true.
TV.
So
So
that's nice to
I got.
see.
I got to see those. I got some other pieces. I'm worried about Zach Ertz against Baltimore. Like
Could be
that's
tough. Yeah,
that could be
Baltimore
tough.
really good. Ty against Minnesota.
Minnesota.
Yeah,
Yep.
I mean, Ty's been so fucking good, but
Can't believe
maybe the ceiling's a little bit lower than usual in that
Yeah.
matchup. And
It's gonna be
Crabtree's been pretty up and down lately, but
lately.
he's always good for something. San Diego defense, it
Not,
doesn't scare me, but they don't just get walked all over either.
no, and the funny thing is that Amari Cooper destroyed San Diego last time, but I don't think he had a single target in the red zone. And as I think it says right here that Crabtree leads Oakland with 17 targets in the red zone this
Oh, wow.
season. So I don't think it's going to be a big game from Crabtree, but I hope it's going to be better than last week. I actually hope he plays. I think he is going through some. Oh, he was limited in practice today, but I know he has like a shoulder injury or something. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I think this is gonna be
It's gonna be close.
Yeah, I mean we always fucking say it, but just not a lot sticks out. Like, oh, one team's matchups are so much better than the others. I think there's a lot of coverage on both sides.
Yeah.
You guys, have your team's in pretty good shape for the most part. You don't have any like massive glaring injuries that you've got to figure out. I think if I had to bet, I think I'd put the edge on your team. I could see Matt Ryan having like a 30 point game.
Well, I do hope that happens, and I'm feeling the same way. I feel that there's certain pieces that should go off. I really like LeGarrette Blount. I don't know. I feel that if the Patriots are going to have a tough time, the one thing that they will be able to do is at least get close to the red zone. Just give it to LeGarrette, and he'll get it in. I'm going to go ahead and I'll give myself a vote with the hope that I can get on in.
All right. Yep. This is it, man. Fucking win, and you're at least guaranteeing yourself your buy-in back, if not more.
Yep. Oh, absolutely. No, if anybody wins, you're getting
paid.
You're getting money. You're getting paid, and so winning, you're in. So this will be it. Funny enough, we've got a little bi-curious Butters here, John Glasgow.
I don't think Johnny's too curious about that buy anymore. I think he was curious, and it worked out in his favor.
Well, to his credit, we've been on hiatus for like a little while, and John does seem to pay attention, at least be our number one fan, and maybe he just hasn't gotten around to it because he hasn't been pumped. He hasn't been pumped up enough for the season, which he should be. This is it for all the money against you. Some of the best quarterbacks this year going up against each other: Drew Brees, Tom Brady.
Both tough matchups for both of them.
Yeah.
Number 4 ranked and number 1 ranked against the quarterbacks. So Obviously, Drew Brees has had his struggles these last 2 games. To my
Just
surprise, God,
hope he got it out of his system.
please, sweet Jesus, have gotten that out of your system.
Yeah,
Stop throwing interceptions.
no kidding. I mean, it's Drew Brees. He's been what? Let's see, what is it? The third best player in fantasy football this year with 325 points. If you're gonna rely on anybody, you're gonna rely on Drew.
Riding him. I wouldn't even think about benching him at this point. There's no way that Drew Brees is the reason that I'm even in the playoffs right now. There's no fucking way that I'm about to bench him because he's had 2 bad games.
No, absolutely. But you have some other interesting pieces. You know, you got Carlos Hyde going up against Atlanta, which I'm not really sure.
Good matchup.
They're not very
good at
friendly.
all.
Very friendly to the
They're
running
bad
back.
against running backs. They're just despite last week's shellacking of the Rams, ATL defense has not been very good this year. So I'm expecting that Hyde, should be able to run around. Jonathan Stewart has a good matchup against the Redskins as well.
They're 28. Yeah, so those are 2 nice matchups. This I actually saw just today. Very, very interesting.
I mean, look, I don't know. I'm not 100% committed to Kenneth Farrow right now.
I don't believe that you would be. There's always a chance that Ronnie Hillman could fucking actually end up taking a shit ton of snaps. There's a chance, as much as I've read, that Melvin Gordon could come back as soon as next week. So not this week.
And there's also a chance that Matt Forte could actually play. Don't know if I would actually trust him to do that, I
wouldn't trust Deion Lewis. I don't know if I would put Deion Lewis in.
Well, the thing is, I don't need another running back. All I need is some kind of flex option because I've got 2 running backs with Hyde and Jonathan Stewart.
Absolutely.
So all I need is something in that flex
would
spot there.
Would it be like a Ty Montgomery?
Yeah,
possibly?
I'd say there's potential for that. He looked really good last week, and maybe they say, hey, look, this is the guy that's giving us the best option in that running back position. Obviously, he can catch a lot of passes too. So I could see some upside there. I don't feel great about that either. I mean, I may just sort of keep my finger on the pulse of who's available from free agents right now, if anything else happens.
Kidding.
But honestly, I don't quite know exactly what I'm doing with that last flex spot there.
It's gonna be a tough decision. Yeah, but John's got Bilal Powell on his
That's the
bench.
thing. Yeah, I mean, I fucked up last week. I made a stupid waiver claim on the Baltimore defense. I'm not sure if it would have put my claim ahead of John's, but I really wanted Bilal Powell. And John, I was 10 out of 10 on waivers, so, obviously I wasn't going to get him. But the fucking thing that pisses me off is that I drafted Bilal Powell. And
did you? As a
handcuff? Handcuff, and then some.
Handcuff.
And then some. And I kept him on my squad this entire season on my bench until 2 weeks ago when I felt like, you know what, enough is enough. I've never used this guy. I need to pick up somebody that I can use. And then now, though, it bites me in the ass because not only when I need him the most, I don't get him, and now he could potentially play against me and really fuck me too.
Played against you. I mean, John may start Tevin Coleman. Depending on what happens with Julio, if Julio doesn't end up playing, if it's, if anything happens, there's some sort of a set. Who knows, right?
It depends on Matt Forte. If Matt Forte is playing, that's certainly going to hurt the value of Powell too. So I don't know.
He's got a lot of interesting pieces though. I mean, we can go ahead and we haven't really talked much about John's team so far. Obviously he's got Brady. We were talking about New England and Denver, so that's going to be. We'll wait and see how that game turns out. I think it's going to be one of the better matchups probably of the week. Doug Martin against Dallas. I don't know, man. Doug Martin. Dallas is like the 6th ranked run D, but Doug Martin is he's perplexing to me since he's been back. He's been good.
The work. Yeah, he's just getting fed. Look at all the carries he's getting. So I expect a pretty high floor for Doug Martin. I'm hoping he doesn't have some monster multiple touchdown game.
Yeah, absolutely. And funny enough, I'm not sure what's going to happen for Latavius Murray at SD. I don't know if they're going to have Bosa. God, I haven't been really following in the Chargers. This has been another rough season for me. Look at me, the true San Diegan fan. I was probably depressed about the season before it even started.
Yeah, it's the Brian's PSA on being a Charger fan every single week.
Every single week. It's basically for anybody of those that are on like suicide watch, or you're really thinking that times are tough. Just remember that there are Charger fans out there.
Yeah. Just imagine these Charger fans just throwing their beer against the window, as you normally would.
God damn it! I'm never gonna get past that.
That's good
never gonna get past that one.
So yeah, Latavius has been really good though. He's like the surefire #1 back in Oakland. Tevin has got a real juiced matchup against SF.
Just really quick about Latavius Murray, I didn't realize that he's the 9th ranked running back this year. Like, way to go! He's been
really good, especially lately. He's been really solid.
Absolutely. What do you think about John's wideouts? That was something that we were always talking about. Like, that was one of his huge strengths. I don't know about that. They have been. Just bad. Alshon Jeffrey has been gone and missing for a while.
I'm sure he's obviously happy to have Alshon back. It's hard to say what exactly you're going to get from Alshon, given the quarterback situation in Chicago. Green Bay defense has actually been playing pretty well lately. So I don't know. Don't know what to expect from that. Larry Fitz, he's always a guy that can put up a big game. He has been held in check a lot lately, but that doesn't make me feel really any better at all. Like,
going up against New Orleans.
Yeah, New Orleans fucking Swiss cheese over there. Kyle Rudolph's always good for something, and I mean, honestly, I'm really hoping that Julio doesn't play.
Well, here's the thing, okay, before you get all happy about Julio not playing, right? Let's say Matt Forte plays, you can always pop in Bilal Powell. Here's another one that's actually kind of scary, just looking at the numbers. Look at Dontrell Emmett.
Oh yeah, he's been really solid. He's been like the #1 target for Phillip Rivers and touchdowns in multiple games in a row. Definitely a solid at this point. You can I think you can trust that he's going to get enough attention to put him in your lineup.
Yeah, other than the very beginning of the year, since week 7, let's just do week 7. He hasn't scored lower than 6.5.
Yeah, he's been really,
and he's
really
been
good.
Usually, and that was by far his low. He had 2 outings at 6.5, a 9 and an 8. But then 21, 11, and 16.
Look, John's got some really good fill-in pieces should one of his studs like Julio not play. Obviously, you wish he didn't have good options, but for me, it's just like, look, Julio is such a boom play when he does play. He can put up fucking 40 points, and that's crippling, if you're playing against him in that regard. So if Julio can be out of his lineup, I'm fine with a guy like Dontrell Inman, who, may put up 14 points, but probably won't put up, a 30-point game like
he's not going to put up a
Julio game
capable of against SF.
Exactly.
Yeah. Geez. You know what? This is kind of hard to call. Like, looking at this, because the funny thing is, you better be going the way that I hope you're going. But just looking at it, like, man, I really love your running back matchups. Like, those are really juicy. Yeah. I feel like there are a lot of points could come from those.
I like the Seahawks at home playing against the Rams this week.
Yeah, hopefully maybe that deal. Well, it's a Thursday night game though, so
those are always interesting. But for a defense,
what are you gonna do? You're gonna find a better defense than the Seahawks D.
They're the number one ranked consensus ranked defense this week. I mean, look what happened to the Rams last week. The Falcons put up 27 points against them, and this is the Seahawks in Seattle. I mean,
but at the same time, he's got the Bills defense playing up against Cleveland.
Anytime somebody's playing against Cleveland, you're looking pretty good for the defense there. So, I mean, it's not like the Bills aren't a fucking crazy good defense, but it's Cleveland.
Yeah, it's Cleveland.
You're probably getting like more than 10 points.
Man, this is really tough. Why don't you go ahead, since you already know the way you're gonna go? I'm
picking John for sure in this match.
Oh my God!
I think he has a really good team. I am definitely nervous about this matchup. Certainly, it's going to be really tough. So I do think he has a really good shot of winning. But I'm riding the voodoo curse, baby. I have not picked my own team the last couple weeks, and it's really been working out. So John's the one who introduced the curse. Remember when he was on the podcast? It was all about the voodoo.
He was talking about the voodoo.
I see
didn't
your
really
voodoo,
believe.
and I'm putting it back on you, my friend. I am strongly picking your team to win this week.
All right, then I will see your voodoo and add another one. I will go ahead and pick John's team as it sits right now, with the idea that Julio is going to play against SF, because that's going to really hurt for Matt Ryan if he doesn't have Julio. I mean, Julio wasn't in the game last week. He had 3 touchdowns, but at the same time, God, I feel so much more comfortable if he's there. I think this is going to be really, really close. If Drew Brees has an awesome game, those running backs end up coming to play. I have no idea about Kenneth Farrow, and like you said, that's one of the bigger question marks that you have. Probably the only question mark that you have in regards to
if he's in or not.
If he's in or not. And obviously, so Jordy against Chicago, I like Delaney against KC. I'm not too sure, but I feel Delaney is such a nice piece. Jameson Crowder has been really impressive. Carolina doesn't scare me at all. You've got a lot of good pieces, but I feel John has also those explosive pieces, and as it sits right now, his wideouts have always scared me. Maybe at the very last week they will come on in and do it for him. So I will give John a slight edge.
All right,
we will voodoo sweep it.
Voodoo sweep, baby.
All right, the voodoo sweep, and I guess after an hour and a half or however long the fuck we've been
this
talking
one's
about
the longest one we've ever done, but I mean it's fun. Everybody gets talked about a bit. We've obviously got these big matchups here. I hope that even the folks that are not involved, I hope they're still at least curious about how this is all going to shake out. We eliminated the big bad Joey to not win his fifth
championship. I think if Joey had won his 5th championship, everybody would have just all gotten together on the Golden Gate Bridge, everybody in a big giant line, and
push Joey off the bridge. No, I'm just
I was just going to. Well, okay.
I know you're going to say commit
much
suicide.
More morbid. Yeah, we would all just jumped on up, but maybe that would have been the goddamn. We can't talk about that. Joey earned every single one of those. 3, then
we've got Nick here, guest to address that comment right there.
Yeah, with the asterisks for one.
Anyways, now we're starting to get off the rails. So
we're always off. We're always off the rails. But I really hope that it's going to be a fun weekend, and it definitely, like we were talking about earlier, I really hope that next week we can get a chance to talk about. A little bit more about everybody's team, and maybe sort of talk about kind of what went on in your season, how your season went. Obviously, we just went through the first few rounds of the draft, but maybe also go in a little bit more in depth, give everybody some limelight, much deserved limelight, even if your season didn't work out the way you want it. And then hopefully also we're going to be talking about the 2 fucks that did get their everything that they wanted to work out for, and they're playing for all the money. So it's gonna be a fun weekend, and it's definitely looking forward to coming back for our championship podcast next week.
Sounds fucking good. I'm excited. I know you're excited too, and we'll have some real good stuff to talk about next week, and we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, and we'll see you all later.